You're listening to Systemic Error Podcast. The failure was designed.
Resist Trump's rambling and pay a hefty price based on an article by Ray Richman. Power talks like a threat, not a policy. The performance is the point. The source text is not interested in argument. It is a parade of dominance cues, sanctions, investigations, tariffs, watch lists, obliteration, humiliation. The speaker keeps insisting on his own brilliance while threatening punishment for boredom, doubt, or criticism. That is the real subject here. The speech is designed to make power feel omnipresent and the audience feel small. Who actually holds power? In this piece, the only institutional actor that matters is the voice claiming the right to punish. He talks like he controls state machinery, courts, trade policy, surveillance, and public attention all at once. That is the pattern. Power presented as personality, then personality inflated into state authority. The weaker actors are the targets, not the drivers. Readers are treated like suspects. Critics are called traitors. Foreign adversaries are reduced to props. Ordinary civic behavior such as paying taxes or helping people is recast as subversion. The hierarchy is explicit. One ruler. Everyone else a warning example. Punishment replaces governance. Nothing in the text resembles governing in a serious sense. There is no policy logic behind the threats, only theatrical coercion. Tariff on browsers is obviously absurd, but the absurdity is the point. It turns arbitrary punishment into a joke so the audience acclimates to arbitrary punishment as normal. That is how authoritarian language works when it is dressed up as comedy. It converts domination into content. It asks the audience to laugh first and notice the threat later, if at all. The enemy is attention itself. The most revealing move is not the attack on Orion or the enemy from within. It is the demand for total attention. The speaker treats reading itself as obedience and distraction as disloyalty. That is a small tyranny in miniature. The reader is not allowed to drift, question, or evaluate. They must absorb, submit, and repeat. This is how propaganda often functions when it stops pretending to persuade. It is not asked to be believed. It demands to be endured. Any interruption becomes evidence of weakness, treason, or contempt. Misdirection is method. The source text keeps shifting blame downward. If the reader objects, the reader is the problem. If a foreign adversary resists, that resistance is framed as ingratitude. If a domestic opponent exists, it is described as an existential threat regardless of what it actually does. The message is not complicated. Harm is never the fault of the powerful hand applying it. That framing is weak on purpose, and it should be named plainly. It is propaganda by insult, not analysis by argument. It replaces accountability with performance and then calls the performance strength. The larger pattern. The bigger story is not one column or one parody voice. It is the political habit of turning authority into a personal brand and then using that brand to excuse cruelty. The language of disrespect, surrender, traitors, and watch lists is not accidental ornament. It is the vocabulary of rule by grievance and humiliation. When power speaks this way, it is telling on itself. It does not want legitimacy from consent or competence. It wants compliance from fear and applause from people too distracted to notice the difference. You've been listening to Systemic Error. Thanks to Raw Story for today's article. With the automated voice of Kuzil, thanks for listening.